Hello everybody and welcome to my presentation of development and operation of digital twins. If we want to learn about digital twins, we have to look into the offerings. And there was an evolution of offerings and of course of their business models. If we look into history, there was the first step of mechanization where mechanical products were developed, they were produced and then they were sold to a customer. And then there was an innovative step into digitization age, where functions that were first mechanically realized were transferred into more digital functionalities. And we all do know that on the example of a digital camera, for example. And after that, there was a very huge innovative step, and we call it function integration, where different type of products were actually integrated into one product and a new function was born. And we all do know that on the example of mobile phones and digital cameras that were integrated together and the smartphone was born. And based on that development, actually, new business models were evolving. And if we look into the world over there, it's, for example, Instagram, because Instagram is a company having 700 million users worldwide. And it was just, or it is just there because there was mechanization, there was digitization, there was function integration. And the business model of Instagram was not the driver for those developments, but it just happened. And the question now is, are there other products or offerings that will do and walk the same way? And if we look into other branches, there will be. I took this one out of a German business magazine, and the focus there was on service. And I think everybody knows those products, and basically they were developed, they were produced, and then they were sold to a customer. Now it shifted a bit, and the article describes it very well. There are many other products that changed their nature, so the nature and the character of the product has changed. With so-called smart devices, the line between the physical device and the software running inside it becomes blurred. So, pointed out in the end, products are licensed for use only. And this is actually what's happening now. Many products change their character and companies change their business models behind it, and they sell licenses for use and not selling the product itself. That also means that the responsibility shifts. So when I sell a product to a customer, my responsibility from a manufacturing company perspective shifts also to the customer. But if I just sell a license, I will be also responsible, or will be still responsible for the product. And if I want to be responsible, I need to know the status of my product. And this is actually where digital twins come into place. If we look to the right side, we have the physical product on the one hand, and on the other hand, we have a digital product. And if we combine it, it's a so-called digital twin. In terms of products, it's a product twin. So what we do actually is we collect data from the physical product, and the data and the context is transferred to the digital product. And then we can use functions out of the digital product to run the physical product. This is from a product perspective. On the other hand, we can look into manufacturing companies, and there happens the same. We have a digital factory, for example, and we have physical factory. And there's an integration, because from the physical factory you can use collected data, operation data, process data, and so on, for example, put it into context, and then we can improve our simulation models, for example, of the digital factory. And then we can just control, again, the physical factory. And this is happening, and we call it digital factory twin on the one hand, and the digital product twin on the other hand. Of course, there can be connected values when we integrate them horizontally as well. But to better understand what digital twins can be used for, let's have a look into a definition first. This one is from the Encyclopedia of CIRP. First of all, when we look into a product life cycle, we have a development phase and their digital master models are created. Those digital master models are the basis actually to manufacture physical products. So a certain product is manufactured, and when it's in the field it can collect data. So we call it a digital shadow. The shadow is all collected data. It can be operational data, it can be condition data, it can be process data, and so all data that the product is collecting over its use phase, for example. And a digital twin arises from that when we combine those models together with the data. So there should be a linkage between our digital master models and our operational data. And as soon as that happens, we can call it a so-called digital twin. So let's have a look into one example. That is a drive simulator. And here you can see what you see here is actually the drive simulator itself. But what is actually needed to run a drive simulator? On the one hand, we need digital master data. Digital master data are, for example, geometric models. So it can be also logical models, functional models. So everything that happens in this functional drive simulator must be modeled first. And in an ideal world, those models are also integrated with real data. So that means real data in terms of physical data, for example, environmental data, behavior data, not only about the product, but also about the environment itself, which can be seen here. And if we have both digital masters and data, we can simulate the driving behavior. And that was actually the aim of this project, to create a digital twin for a drive simulator. Another example I would like to show you briefly, where digital twin comes into place, is for a new service model, for example. And this is a company that runs electro scooters in Berlin, and you can see here a map of Berlin. And the map is modeled together with real-time data from each scooters. And what you can see here, for example, is where scooters are rented and where they are returned. And it's important because sometimes there is a strong focus, for example, here where scooters are returned but not rent. And that means there's a mismatch. And analyzing those data, analyzing this data actually, makes it very obvious, and visualizing it even more. But the question is, how can they improve their business model by knowing that there is a gap between rentals and returns, and what can be the mechanisms behind it? So looking from a digital twin perspective out of it, it means that we have a modeled environment, we have modeled scooters, and we have real-time data, shadow data, from each scooter that is combined actually to fill the models, and then we can make our analysis with the model. From a more academic perspective, we looked into the world of digital twins, and the question is always, for example, do I always need a real-time integration? And we can't say it's always necessary. There are certain other dimensions we looked into. We created this so-called 3D, we created this so-called 8D model, and the 8D model shows all the dimensions a digital twin can cover. For example, the integration breadth. If we look there from a manufacturing perspective, do I want to create a digital twin just for my machine, for example, or for my entire factory? Next one would be connectivity modes. So how are the physical model and the digital model are combined? Is it bidirectional? Is it automatic, and so on? The update frequency. Is it really necessary to have a real-time integration, or would it be enough for a daily integration? For example, if we look into the scooter digital twin, it's just necessary to, for example, to have a hourly integration and not a full real-time integration. And there are other dimensions, CPS intelligence. Should the drive simulator or the scooter, for example, make autonomous decisions, or is it just automated or human triggered? The next one would be simulation capabilities. Is it static, dynamic, ad hoc? Sixth dimension is the model richness. So what should be integrated into our digital twin? It's necessary because modeling can be very time consuming, and of course it can gain very expensive. And before creating a digital twin, you need to be sure about what should be integrated into the model. The human interaction part, is there a human interaction? Is it just an ordinary interface, for example, or is it augmented reality interface? And the last one is the product life cycle phase, that the company needs to be sure of. What is my digital twin created for? Is it to support a new smart service? Then of course the use phase should be integrated into our digital twin. If, for example, we want to learn in simulation phases, the integration should be on a development level. And just to be sure what is a digital twin for and what is the need actually for my digital twin, and maybe how can I create a business model out of it, we have to look into our dimensions, certain dimensions of this model. So that was just a very brief presentation. If you want to learn more about digital twins, I would like to invite you to join our course. Just write an email to me. I can send you the details. We have certain levels that are supported, and you can become a master of digital twins. So, if you have any questions regarding my presentation, just feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.